let's talk about crypto. I mean, it is just flooded with information, right? It's chaotic, it's confusing. So the big question is, how do you find the real signal in all that noise? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dig into today. You know, if you've ever even thought about crypto, you've probably asked yourself this. It's this constant push and pull, right? On one side, you hear about these incredible, life-changing returns. But then, on the other, you hear all the talk about huge, devastating risks. And that right there, that's the central dilemma of the whole thing. So, to help us navigate this, we're going to use a guide. It's an academic paper from back in late 2022 called Risks and Returns of Cryptocurrency. Sounds pretty straightforward, doesn't it? You'd think it's just a deep dive into the numbers. But, well, it turned out to be a little different. Yeah, see, the most revealing thing about this paper wasn't actually in the analysis of crypto's risks and rewards. Not at all. The real story, the clue that kind of unlocked this whole bigger idea, it was hiding in plain sight, in the metadata, the data about the paper. And here it is, 72%. Just let that sink in for a second. This number popped up in the paper's originality report. And wow, that is a really high number. So the big question becomes, what on earth does that actually mean? Okay, so that 72% is what's called the similarity index. And what that means, in simple terms, is that almost 3/4 of the text in this paper, it's a match for stuff that's already out there. We're talking stuff on the internet, in other publications, or even in other student papers. And when you dig into that number, you start to see where it all comes from. I mean, look at this. The report shows a 70% overlap with internet sources and a whopping 71% with other papers. It really looks like the information is just being pulled from this big circulating pool of content that's already out there. And this is where things get really interesting. Because that clue, that high similarity score, it points to something much bigger. It suggests we might be looking at an information echo chamber. You know, a place where the same ideas, the same talking points, even the same phrases just get repeated and amplified again and again and again. So let's think about what this means for you, right? If an academic paper on crypto has this much recycled content, what does that say about what you're reading online? How can you possibly know if you're getting a genuinely fresh take or just hearing another echo? It really boils down to two types of information that we all have to sort through. On one side, you have true original analysis. We're talking deep dives into a project's code or looking at on-chain data, real homework. But on the other side, you've got recycled info. You know the stuff. The same price predictions, the same narratives, even the same mistakes, just copied and pasted across countless blogs and social media threads. And the hardest part? Figuring out which is which. There's a line in the source material that just gets right to the heart of the matter. It says, it makes you think about how much is just repetition versus like genuinely new analysis. And that's the question we should be asking ourselves, right? With everything we read. Okay, so we've laid out the problem, this whole echo chamber thing. So what's the solution? How do we get better at this? How do we become more critical consumers of information? And not just with crypto, I mean, with everything. All right, here's a simple but really powerful framework you can use. Just 4 questions to ask yourself about any source. First up, what's the origin? Like, where is this really coming from? Is it the original source, like a project's white paper, or is it just someone's summary of a summary? Second, is it just an echo? Ask yourself, have I heard this exact same point before, just, worded a little differently? Third, who's the author? Who is actually writing this? A developer who built the thing? An independent analyst? Or some anonymous account that might have a hidden agenda? And last but not least, is it truly new analysis? Is it bringing new data to the table, making a new connection? Or is it just repeating what everyone else is already saying? And really, that's the whole goal here. It's not about just consuming more information. It's about actively going out and finding different, solid, well-researched points of view. It's about making a conscious choice to push past all that noise to find some real, actual insight. So, we'll leave you with this final thought. In a world that is just overflowing with content, and this goes way beyond crypto, maybe the single most important skill you can have is figuring out how to separate the signal from the noise. That's the challenge for every single one of us.